Hi there once again, and welcome to another Expresso mechanic tutorial. And this is going to be episode 15 in the series Python Bytes. Now, a couple of weeks ago, VDOFX asked me if I could do something on try except within Python. And that's what I'm going to be doing here. So what we'll actually do is create a couple of sample scripts, very simple scripts, and then we'll create something that we can apply to Cinema 4D. That's what we're about in this tutorial. So without further ado, let's see if we can make this happen. The first thing I'm going to do is switch to a scripting layout. And we're in the script manager and we can simply say new script. We'll delete all of this and leave the main function with nothing in it. And then we can start putting some sample code in here just to see what we're about. So if we say x is equal to 10 and then put a for loop. If I say for I in range brackets 10, and then in the loop if I simply say print brackets x divided by I. Let's see what happens when we run this. If we execute it, straight away we get 0 division error, division by 0. Because of course x is equals to 10, which is fine, but I is going to start from 0 and count through to 9. So if we divide x by I, as soon as we start to do it, we get a division by 0 error because you can't divide 10 by 0. So straight away we've got a problem. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could ignore this initial problem and just simply divide x by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Well, with try except, we can actually do that. That will allow us to do it. So for example, if we say try colon, we'll take away the print statement, take away the brackets, and if we just place this here, so we're going to try x divided by I, and we'll say except colon, and if there's a division by 0 error, and there is something else that we can add to this, but I'll show you that in a minute. But for now, we can say print cannot divide by 0, 0, exclamation mark, and then just close our single quotes. We've got that in there. Now let's see what happens here. If we just clear this out and we'll execute this, straight away we get the error. So we run the loop and we try to divide x by I, but we can't because we're divided by 0. However, we can also use an else statement in here. So if we say else print brackets single quotes, we'll say 10 divided by, close our single quotes, comma I, comma, open our single quotes again, and then we can say equals, close our single quotes, comma, x divided by I. Okay, I'll take the spaces out of there actually, just say x divided by I. That'll do, that's fine. So now let's see what happens. And now we actually get the cannot divide by 0. We'll just do that again so that we can see. So we get the cannot divide by 0 when I is equal to 0, but everything else is there. So 1 is obviously going to be 10. 10 divided by 1 is 1, or rather 10, I should say. Then 2 will be equal to 5, of course. And then 10 divided by 3 is 3.3 recurring. And then, of course, everything else following. So that now works. It works perfectly. So that's how try except actually works. It allows you to test things. And if there's an error, you can raise an exception to it. But if there's no error, you can carry on working. So you don't break the loop in this situation. Now, I said there was something else that we can add. We can say, if we know what the error is likely to be, we can say 0 division error. and it comes up in yellow because that's a listed error within Python. So we can say accept zero division error, print cannot divide by zero. So that's fine, that works perfectly well. Moving on from here, let's create another script and take a look at something slightly different. Again, we'll remove all of this, just tab in so that we're ready to type in here. Let's create a list of numbers. So if we say numbers is equal to, and we'll just put a random set of numbers in here. So we've got 5 numbers in there. Again, we'll create a for loop. So we'll say for I in range, and we'll say for now 5. Okay, so we're ready to add some more code. We can then say try, and we'll say x is equal to, and it will be numbers brackets I. And we'll put an exception. So we'll say except, and this time we'll say index error. And at this point we'll say print, and it will be index out of range. So we've got that in there. We can then put an else in here and say else print. We'll just return that. We don't have to, but we will. Print, and we'll say x is equal to, comma, x, comma x. That's all we need to say in there. Now let's clear this out and see what happens now. So at first we get something that works, and it's fine because there is no index error. But suppose we said for I in range 6. Let's see what happens now. We'll clear this out and execute this. So now we get all of our numbers printed out, but as soon as x is equal to 6, it tells us that the index is out of range, because of course it is. We've only got 5 numbers, but we're counting from 0 to 5. That's no good to us, and we get the error. Now there is a finally statement that we can add. So if we say finally, and we just simply say print brackets, what should we say? Yeah, if we say I is equal to, comma, I. Now, once we've printed all of this, we will get the value of I printed. Now let's have a look and see what we get. I think it will print, actually, I think it will print I as we go along, if I remember correctly. Let's do this. It does. So we print X, we print I, we print X, we print I. Now, at the bottom here, it says that the index is out of range. That's once I is equal to 5, because of course it's 0 to 5 that it counts from. So it's counting 6 values, but 0 to 5. So as soon as it hits 5, the index is out of range, but we still get I printed, because finally doesn't care that there's an error. That's the point about finally. Else does. Else, you know, won't print any further. We can't print on the else because we get the index out of range. So as soon as it gets to 4, the next value is 5, which is of course the value that makes the index out of range. That's no good. So we get the exception. But finally doesn't care that there's been an exception. It still prints. So even after the index out of range occurs, we still get I is equal to 5. So these 4 statements, try, except, else, and finally, can be thought of as a family of statements because they all relate to each other. So hopefully that's clear. Now, let's imagine a scenario that we can apply to Cinema 4D. If we get a hold of that, we'll switch to expressions, but if we get a hold of a cube and we'll select X, Y and Z. Hold down Command and just scale this down to 20. And we can add a fillet, make it 0.5, and we'll drop this into a cloner. So holding down my Option key, I'll select cloner and we'll drop that in. We'll make it a linear cloner. We'll make 10 clones and we'll move them along the X by 21 so that we get a little gap between each one. We'll hit H so that we can see them. Okay, so they're all set up and waiting to go. We'll add a Python effector and we can see that it's working. We'll go to full control, open in the Python editor and remove the loop. Hit execute just to bring everything back. Okay, so we've got everything that we need in order to make this work set up. We just need the necessary code. We'll start with a for loop once again. So for I in range, and this time we can just put CNT for count in there because we've already got the count up here, which is the number of clones that we've got. So we'll use that. And we can then say height is equal to 100. Try, and we'll say pos underscore y is equal to height divided by I. So I want my position Y of my clones, so along the Y axis here, I want to raise my clones by the height value, so initially 100 divided by whatever I happens to be. Now obviously we're going to get a division by 0 at first because I will start from 0. So therefore we must say except, and we'll say 0 division error, and we've got that there ready to go. And we can say print cannot divide by 0. I'll put an exclamation mark on the end, why not, and close our quotes. So that's all set up and ready to go. And then in the else we can say x is equal to mar brackets I dot off dot x, y is equal to mar dot off, or rather we don't need mar, beg your pardon, we just need to say pos underscore y. That's all we need to say there. And then finally the z can just, we can copy this actually, we just copy this, paste it in here. We can say z is equal to, and it will be mar brackets I dot off dot z, and that's our vector to reals conversion. You've seen me do this before if you've seen some of the other tutorials that I've done on Python, but that's all we're doing. For anybody who doesn't know, all we're doing here is basically converting the vector values of each of our clones, because mar is the matrix array, so it's the array of our clones' positions, rotation scales basically, but we're converting our offset positions here within that matrix. We're just getting those values and taking the values of that particular vector and converting it to real values. That's what we're doing there. Okay, we'll put print brackets y in there, and we'll simply say mar brackets I dot off is equal to, and it will be C4D dot vector brackets x comma y comma z. So we'll convert our real values back to a vector and give them to each one of our clones, and that will give position y, of course, as the heights within that vector. Okay, so that's our code. We're clear in here so we can see what's going to happen as soon as we hit the execute button, and straight away we can see that something's happened with our clones. Now of course we said that we get a division by 0 error initially, which we do get, so we cannot divide by 0, and that means our first clone is left at 0. Moving on from here though, our second clone is at 100, our third 50, etc., and we can see those values printed here. So it's working exactly as it should. So there you go. There's a little scenario that we've applied to something within Cinema 4D. It's very simple, it's very basic, but then this is a Python Bytes tutorial, so I wasn't going to go really deep with this. But you can hopefully see that this is useful to you. You know, so if you've got a situation where you might start with a for loop and it might give you a division by zero error, you can use try, except, and else, and you can get yourself out of a bit of a hole. Now, with the except, you might want to put something other than print cannot divide by zero. You might actually want to deal with this clone and give it another height. You could possibly say y equals, say, 150, and you could then replicate some of this in here and do that. I mean, for example, let's just do it, shall we? If we take all of this out of here, so we'll copy this using Command C. We'll take this out, paste our copied code in there. We'll take the print out because we don't really need that. But what we can say is y is equal to, shall we say, 150. In fact, yeah, well, let's make it 200 actually, make it double because the first one's 100, so make it double. And then if we execute that, if we then hit H in here, we can see that our first clone is now at 200, then 100. So we're getting double. So we've effectively solved that bit of a problem. Okay, so that's what you could do there. As soon as you get the exception error, you can just sort it out by doing something in there. But anyway, I hope that that's all clear and that you've actually learned something of value here. And that does bring us to the end of this tutorial because that's as far as I'm going to go here. So as always, if you have enjoyed this video and you can see that there's some value in it, then please give the video a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and of course, ring the bell. And wherever you happen to be on social media, then please do share this video because all this good stuff helps keep the channel moving in the right direction. But anyway, for now, that just about brings the curtain down on this one. So I'll see you very soon on the next tutorial.